Hi, this is Brett Harned. Welcome to PM Matters, a Team Gantt interview series that raises the voice of the community and explores what matters to us. Hi, this is Brett Harned, back with PM Matters. I'm actually in Windsor, UK today with my friend Sam Barnes. Sam is the development team manager here at Global Personals in Windsor. Sam's a longtime friend of mine, connection through the digital PM community. I'm excited to be here talking to him today. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Good. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this.
Pleasure.
The series is all about what matters to project managers. I like to ask people kind of how they got into it.
Yeah.
I think we all took a sort of a different path into the industry and into the role. So what was your path into PM?
As with everyone, it was by accident. So I started out, about 15 years ago, I was still fixing power tools for a living, so not quite where I should be now. I then went back to our local university, not too great, but found my passion, which was digital. Once I finished university, I went to find a job, not very easy. It took me 69 applications exactly. 69 applications. Wow. But I was going for, junior developer here, junior anything. I just needed a, foot in the door. Finally got my opportunity to work for a local agency, but I was, bottom of the ladder, as you'd expect. So I was doing content entry, creating assets for clients like Nokia and stuff, and I loved it. I couldn't believe it.
Cool.
I was getting paid to do that compared to fixing power tools. Good work. But very quickly, I felt that I needed to, do more. So 6 months in, I wanted to do more. I wanted to build websites, and that's what I wanted to do. So I tried finding ways throughout the day job to do that, but it was difficult, as it always is. So I went home every night, taught myself front-end development, a bit of Photoshop, enough that I could start taking tasks on a day-to-day basis where I worked. To the point where eventually I got given my first project. Here's a PSD, go and build it. Yes, excellent. Again, I was in heaven. A couple of years doing that, but over that time I started to, quite frankly, open my big fat mouth. And I started to get, I guess I got frustrated with a few things. I got frustrated with how work was coming into me as a front-end developer, and I thought there were things that we could do further upstream that would really help us do our work. But also account managers, project managers asking me for estimates or giving clients estimates, all the things that we know about. I started voicing my opinion, really, hopefully in a constructive way. Before I know it, I'm being told, okay, try it, go for it. The next thing is I'm at a client meeting, my very first client meeting, and I still remember it now. I was absolutely petrified. I was the tech guy, and it was the managing director for Europe and the Middle East for Intel. So it was a
Wow.
pretty serious meeting. Intense. Made worse by the fact that I made the poor decision to wear a tie to a client meeting.
Oh.
Bad move. I look stupid.
Oh.
Point being is, I was the tech guy at a client meeting, and then I would go back to the office, keep coding, doing stuff. To the point where I started get taken along to lots of client meetings as the tech guy. Started talking to clients, started taking over in those meetings a little bit more. And then I don't know when it happened, suddenly I'm alone.
So you were the dream developer, essentially.
I'm a failed developer is what I am.
Well, okay.
I wanted to build sites.
But a PM's dream developer because you could help them estimate
this
you
is
were good with clients.
Yeah, this is the thing. I was in meetings with clients as the tech guy, then alone. But what I realised was that I got as much of a buzz, I guess you could say, out of making a project go well. So having a client that was happy, having... At that time, because I was probably more biased towards the production team, having the production team saying that project was easy to work on or that was quite smooth compared to the others, that actually gave me the same feeling as I was delivering a website as a front-end coder. So it was nice to be able to make a difference. So I fell into it by accident. I've got a big mouth. I'm a bit OCD in some areas, and it just fell into it naturally. But what I found out is that's pretty much what happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Started out in one discipline and had some opinions, bit of OCD.
A little less now, I think, right? I mean, a lot of kids are being educated in university and college.
Well, we met some in Manchester as well. Yeah, it's becoming a real...
It's really eye-opening for me to know that people are out there actually studying digital project management.
I remember when we did our first workshop in London, 3-4 years ago, and one of the questions from one of the audience was, how do you get into project management? And we were about to answer, we stopped. And we said, just as a quick poll, hands up who meant to get into project management? One person.
Yeah.
One person. I think in a few years it could be a bit more than that.
Yeah.
I think.
It's exciting.
Indeed.
So now you're no longer a PM.
Correct.
You're a development team manager.
Correct.
How did that happen?
It happened, I think, because the team that I manage now lost their manager, essentially. And my boss wanted someone to sort of deputise for him, but also manage this team that had no manager. He suggested it. I said it sounded like a good idea. I think he needs a number two, it'd be good. And he said, what about you? And I was like, are you crazy? I'm a project manager. The developers will hate me if they don't already. But he really focused on the sort of man management side of things, the organisation. Sure. I think the team that we've got are really great and really mature. So they don't need. And we've got really good technical leads. They don't need necessarily my input on that. What they needed was just to be managed, just to be developed and have that person looking out for them really, but also making sure that they're working well and have everything they need to do the best job. So
those PM skills transfer
very much so.
Really well into a team management job.
Yeah, I would say that I treat my team pretty much how I used to treat clients. Always honest with them, always give feedback. Just looking out for them and not just doing the right thing for them, no matter what. Even the tricky ones. I think when there's a tough decision to make, fighting for them, challenging whoever needs to be challenged, it just seems to get a little bit of respect. And people don't need solutions from the boss; they just need to know that someone's got their back.
Absolutely.
I think that just makes people feel like they can just crack on with their work because someone else is looking out for me.
Yeah.
There's no
a
one.
lot of PMs are kind of that person, even though they're also the one who's kind of following up on tasks and maybe feels like they put the pressure on a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I think
being a team kind of like cheerleader, the person to boost others up.
But I think also the PM skills came in with the translation that you have to do. So as a PM, you're constantly translating between, say, business people and technical people and creative people, whatever it might be. Same thing as a development team manager. I can come at it. So a lot of development team managers say come through the ranks. Junior developer, senior, so on and so on. So fantastic technically, maybe not had as much exposure to the business side of things or project management or whatever it might be. Coming through front end development, through project management, especially in a small agency, you kind of get a kind of a rounded experience of things. So it's quite nice to be able to explain things that are going on in the business to the development team in a way that makes a bit more sense to them than lots of graphs and figures, and likewise explain to the rest of the business what challenges the development team are facing in a way they can understand. So it's the same skill set in my opinion.
It's an interesting path to your current role. I'm curious, have you had any formal PM training so far?
I always say no, but I forget that I'm a certified Scrum product owner.
Okay.
I've done a few courses, but I wouldn't say, I think the answer is still no.
Okay.
So, I mean, with formal training that I've seen or experienced, it's often anticlimactic. So you'll go on the product owner course, for instance, it's 2 days. You learn the foundations of Scrum and being a product owner, you learn the terminology, you learn things.
Right.
But did I feel like I came out of that 2 days certified? I am now, send me out into the wild to be a product owner? No. And it kind of feels weird where you're certified, and yet I feel like I've been on a 2-day course. So I think
you're certified.
Yeah, and I think there's some people that will take that and believe it.
Right.
And ride on the wave of whatever it is. Whereas I think most people realise that it's a little bit of not the best title, I think. But I would say if anyone gets the chance to take formal training, take it. Always learn, always good. But just remember,
there's a foundation that you can learn from those trainings and apply to your work. Right?
Also, the people that are there as well.
Right.
They're very much like our conferences that we found out. There's as much value, maybe arguably more, in the conversations you have with people. Having some coffee, or hearing the challenges they face.
That's true.
Even if it's just cathartic, hearing that someone else at big company brand that is having the same problem as you at company brand no one knows. It's a very nice feeling, especially when you're doing something right as well, something the same way. But I think the main problem with those kind of courses, from my experience, be it them Prince2, PMP, Scrum Master, is that they're very theory based, and there's not much mapping to what my experience of real world day to day on the shop floor work actually is. So I think there's a real missing part there of training, and maybe I'm cooking up something that maybe there's something being cooked up that can address that. But watch this space.
So, in terms of what's out there now, is your recommendation essentially for a digital project manager to kind of just attend conferences, attend meetups? Or, I know that when a PM comes to me and they ask me about formal training, I say, if you can do it, you should do it. If you've got the resources to do it and you want to get your PMP, then by all means do that, because there is a foundational level of knowledge that you can gain.
Absolutely.
It doesn't apply specifically to digital. It's not. We're just not there yet in the industry, but we will be soon.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's any other resources that you point people to.
I mean, I get similar emails, I think. How do I get into it, or how can I get more experience? I think the first thing for anyone not in it yet is to just get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Don't
you did.
Exactly like I did. But I think a lot of people come out of degrees or whatever, and they think that they can walk into, say, a project manager role or a developer role. But I think there needs a bit of a sort of a checkpoint there to say, just get in anywhere, because really you want to just shadow people.
Right.
The best position I think to be in is like a project executive role in an agency where you've got tasks to do and you can see what the digital project manager's doing, what they're saying, who they're talking to, how they're handling situations, but you're not actually responsible for them in their entirety just yet. So you're sort of picking up things. You're being a sponge, really. But at the same time, you look for opportunities to take on tasks with a bit of responsibility.
Sure.
And you've kind of got the luxury that you can choose what you're picking to an extent. That's one thing that's good to do. I think, going to conferences, going onto blogs, anything that you can immerse yourself in the world. Start writing. Even if you don't, just write about what you know so far. Caveat everything with, I'm just getting started out. It's amazing what that does. And you suddenly start, realising that you probably know more than you think, because a lot of it's common sense to an extent. But you start building connections with people and you start learning from them. And there's no course that will teach you the stuff that we do. It's just doing it and listening to others, I think. And before you know it, 10 years later, you're doing an interview on a video as an expert, apparently.
So, you are the expert.
Yeah, right.
So I know one of your kind of mantras as a PM is to just always be honest. Do you have any kind of, I know it's a struggle for a lot of project managers. Do you have any kind of tips for people in that realm?
I think the fact that it is a struggle is sort of something I've only really become aware of in the last 6 months. It was actually one of my junior developers. He's the nicest guy you can imagine. I'm doing a one-to-one with him. I do them every month for my team. And I can't remember the scenario or what the reason was, but I was telling him, essentially, just be honest. It's really easy, just be honest. He literally stopped and he just said, I won't say what he said, but he said, it's not easy, Sam. You keep saying it's easy. It's not easy. And the fact that this guy, it was so out of character for him to snap like this, and he was nice about it, but it just really kind of hit me for six, and it made me think hard, and I started asking around, and actually, So the first thing is that to realise that I realise it's not easy, actually. But I would say it's something as a PM you have to develop. You have to develop the understanding of why it's good, because it will save you time. It will save you money. It won't necessarily win you a lot of fans all the time. It's a double-edged sword. Being honest is a double-edged sword. But I think I'm going to steal a line from Megan Welker here from DPM UK, where she said that the question to the panel was, where should your loyalties be as a project manager, to the client, to the team? And we all gave answers, and she cut through and just went, your loyalty should be to the project.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That is just such a good. I think at the time I forgot I had a microphone on, and I said something like "nice." They get in there with 300 people out there, but luckily they giggled. But that is a single way to know when to be honest. I think is really key. I think it's really important that you've got to be so strong and be loyal to the project, because as a project manager, in most environments, you are right in the middle of everybody. So someone will think they're in the middle, but the PM really is in the middle. The client, everyone in production, your boss, the sales team, other PMs. I can't think, every facet of the business in some way is affected by what you do. So everyone's trying to get what they can from you, and usually it's selfish in a good way. They've got their priorities. Right. You've got to balance it all up and make decisions on that. So you have to be strong. I think, you know, you have to be strong, but at the same time you have to be very tactful. And if it's really easy to cross the line into sort of arrogance, when you're being honest.
Being brutally honest.
Yeah, I suffer.
I never really like that though.
I suffer. Term. I don't like it because it can be me. I still fall into it even now. It's just about knowing that you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're not doing it for any self-preservation reasons. You're throwing that, you know, you're completely, you know, not even thinking about yourself. That's kind of the point. You're doing the right thing for the project, and if the right thing for the project is to tell something that's not quite nice, some bad news, how are you going to deliver that bad news? You can sugarcoat it, or you can just say it as it is, offer solutions, and go for it. I mean, I've had people come up to me and tell me that they've tried being honest and they were surprised at how effective it was.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not. It would be disingenuous of me to say it's a skill I've developed. I can't be any other way. But I think any PM that isn't honest at the right time is going to get really burnt eventually.
Completely.
I've done it. I started out. I followed account managers. I looked at who was saying what, and it seemed like that was what you did. You know, you sugarcoated. You were flexible with the truth to an extent, and I tried that, but I just backfired. It just backfired too much. So it wasn't really any clever move. It was out of too many scars and being burnt, basically.
I found that, you know, being honest is difficult at times. Yeah. Being transparent, being open about what's happening on the project. But once you hit that point, you make life so much easier. So you're being honest to a point that it makes the rest of the work that you have to do as a PM easy, because everything's in the open.
But the thing is, everyone respects you for it, whether what you're being honest about is positive or negative. So when you're being honest about something positive, it's kind of whatever, you know. I mean, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
When it's not positive, what I find is that most people it'll sting. You know, if you're telling a client some bad news, but you're being honest about it, then of course it stings for a bit, but if not straight after the conversation, certainly by the end of the project, they really start to respect you, because they know that you're going to tell them how things are. They can trust. It's trust. It's trust. It's integrity. It's the fact that also a lot of clients get told what they want to hear. It's the same with CEOs and senior people. They're surrounded by people that tend to sugarcoat things, because that's what's been done in the past. And there's this other person who's not saying that, and it can sting. You can do it the wrong way. But I think as long as you show enough empathy while you're doing it, and you're always humble with it, you're never always right. You're just saying how you feel. I think it makes a big difference. But yeah, anyone watching, please just be honest. It is save yourselves 10 years of pain and just do it. So
I'm going to throw a curveball scenario at you, because I think this is a fun way to interview people.
Oh, good.
Let's say you're on a project. Say it's a website design project. You've delivered wireframes, maybe some designs. Clients are really excited. You get to development, and your developer tells you that everything that's been basically designed is out of scope for development, and you're not going to be able to, you know, get it done within like the time that you've given them and the budget that you have. How do you handle that situation?
First of all, I'd probably curl up in the fetal position, cry a little bit, pull myself together, and then I think the first thing I would do is hold my hand up. Because ultimately, I mean, it's interesting you say, if I've been running this project from the beginning, then it's my fault. It's my responsibility, because as a project manager, those are the things you need to look for. Okay, so the designer is going to be focusing on the brief and what that is. I mean, obviously you get senior people that understand the commercial, but it sounds like on this particular team, we've got people designing, we've got people scoping, but they're kind of not joined up enough to know that they've got too far before realising the mistake. So if it's my project, it's my fault. Put my hand up to my team. That's the very first thing. Obviously, ask the team if there's anything we can do. You know, sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. There's another PM skill, knowing when to accept that your team are right and when to actually push and think you can get things a little bit quicker or whatever. But if that wasn't the case, we couldn't do it quicker, I think I would then speak to my boss. First thing I would do, and not sugarcoat it. Again, a lot of people, I think, in that situation would start to divert blame. I think they feel,
try to hide the issues,
hide it, or try and deflect it that it was someone else. Someone should have told you. No point. Do you know? Even if someone should have told you, you're the project manager. You've got to have the overview. You've got to take the credit and the criticism. And I'd probably talk to my boss and see what we could do, see if there was anything we could do to stop it reaching the client as a possibility, which might sound sneaky, but if we're in that situation anyway, maybe we can use this as a portfolio project. Maybe we can try some experimentation. Maybe this is a big enough account or important enough client that we can and just accept that I've made a mistake and I've got to take it on the chin, and we'll continue to please the client. Lots and lots of different things you can do before you have to go and tell the client.
Right.
There's options.
Minor difficult conversations before having a big difficult
rehearsal. And anyway, if the boss fires you then you don't have to worry about it, so it's done. But let's assume that I have to have that conversation with the client. I think I would try and arrange a face-to-face, go to them, do what you should do when you're the one giving bad news. Try and go to them if that's not possible, video call. The last thing you want to do is email this kind of news in my experience. Even though I started doing that and it didn't pan out very well. I think once, in whatever way I was talking to the client though, I would just be honest. I wouldn't try and be aggressive, I wouldn't try and defend it. I would say I made a mistake, that it was me, it wasn't the agency, because you've got the relationship of the agency and the client here to bear in mind. And then again, explore options with the client. So the options are obviously the logistical ones. You can get more time, you can get more money, all that kind of thing. If the client's not receptive to that, you can start talking about, is there a way we can work this out another way?
Right.
It could be
exploring options.
Yeah, really,
and finding a way to resolve it without it being too difficult.
I tend to find that being honest really shocks people. Even now, they're not used to how to deal with that, because when someone's showing you they're very vulnerable and they're just a person, they screwed up and they're willing to put their hand up, it throws a lot of people off balance because they're not expecting that.
Right.
And so
it shows some good faith too, right?
I think so, yeah.
In that situation, if you just put it out there and you say that you want to fix it with them, then
absolutely.
It helps.
I mean, there is another side to that, which is that if the client is horrible about it, it's your fault. Yes, there's no excuse for it in a way. But if they are horrible, that's an interesting sort of amber flag as to what the client's like, because you really want to be working towards a partnership with a client rather than a sort of parent-child. Even though you're a client supplier, you really want that. That's the most healthy relationship. So if they're starting to leverage it's a sign actually of maybe the relationship's not quite right anyway, but that doesn't excuse the fact that I screwed up. So I would talk to them. I mean, worst case is they would get what they wanted, and I would just have to
figure it out.
Yeah, I'd have to take that on the chin. I mean, there's lots of options you can do. Ultimately, if I'm putting my hand up and I'm trying to do the right thing, then what will be will be.
Right.
So there's lots of options to do. I think when I first started project managing in that situation, I think given the pressure on me at certain times, I think I would have started looking for blame. I really do, which I'm not really proud to admit, but I think that is the truth and it needs to be said. And over the years, I've realised that you don't have to be perfect.
Well, that's a big difference between a more junior PM and a more senior PM. You start to recognize the things that you can and cannot change within the situation that you're in, and just raising a flag and being honest about the issue is the best way you can handle it.
It's kind of interesting when I'm interviewing for project managers. I'll ask any project manager that answers the question, "How do all your projects come in on time and on budget?" If they say yes, I worry. I immediately, and that sounds a strange thing to.
No, I would too.
Yeah, because
because they're lying. They're not being honest.
They're not being honest. They're lying, not being honest, but also they haven't worked out that or gained the confidence to know that that's okay.
Right.
Because my follow-up question is, what happened on those projects? And it's always something. Even better is if they say, on that one I screwed up. I forgot this thing. That to me is a more appealing attribute than someone who's going to deliver no matter what. Because they're the kind of people I think that might actually affect the people they work around. Yeah. The client might love them, but they might actually cause a lot of pain on the team because they're focused on their reputation and delivery of the project no matter what.
So, I think this has been really great, and I always agree with everything you have to say. Wondering if you have any parting words for folks out there watching this.
I think I'm going to give a few things really. So one I'm going to steal from Nancy Lyons, one of our favourites. At the very first Digital PM Summit, I remember one piece of advice you gave, which just just resonated so much. He said, if you need to have a difficult conversation with a team member or boss or client or something, start that conversation with, and this is where you need to sort of reprimand them. You need to get them into line somehow. Start the conversation with, hey, I need your help, right? That's it. That little tip frames the entire conversation as completely different to, I think, the honest, the brutal side. Actually, you can start the conversation with no tact and start launching into what you need them to do. But if you need their help, rather than giving an order, that's a real good one. That's with a client, team, anybody, I think. I think another one is about methodologies. Agile, waterfall, hybrid, the age-old discussion. I think the main thing is just to not focus in on one as the silver bullet solution. Okay, take what you need from all of them and start delivering projects. Even if the process you deliver by is different per project, as long as everyone on the team, the client and your boss is happy with the results and how it went,
right,
that is a successful project manager. And
couldn't agree more.
It's a really big mistake to focus on one as the answer. I think that's about it.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me here.
You're welcome.
It's been great to be in Windsor, and thanks for joining me for the interview. If you want to find Sam online, he's at the Sam Barnes on Twitter, and thesambarnes.com is his website. There's a lot of great resources and articles there. I think you'll also be speaking at the Digital PM Summit in October, which will be amazing. Yes. So that's great. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.